Hello everyone, my name is Fidel Pedro. Sorry if you can hear an echo, so this is almost an empty place, and because of that the sound reflects, but I hope there is none because this mic actually is noise cancelling. So in this video, that's not a good start, folks. Hello everyone. So if you click the video, it's probably because you're interested or somehow have heard about Linux. What's Linux? Linux is an operating system just like the Windows or Mac OS. So what's a Windows or Mac OS? For example, if you buy a new laptop, you find that with the Windows operating systems, and with the Windows operating systems you may find some apps, or you need to install some apps like Microsoft Word, sorry for that, Microsoft Word and Adobe, etc., or even Chrome for YouTube. So the Chrome, YouTube and other apps, they run above the software level. We have first the operating system level. First we have the operating system, which is kind of the base, like the skeleton, and we have the software that's run by or above the operating system level. So if you don't like the Windows, if you don't want to pay the license, for example, if you don't like the crashes, you may find another operating system. For example, other people prefer macOS, but macOS is expensive. Apple products, all of them are expensive. But maybe you want something cheaper, you bought a second-hand laptop, you don't have money for licensing. That's when you have to install Linux. What's a Linux? Let me open Chrome here, and we're gonna search here Linux. Maybe you can have an idea. So this website here, I want to do something like this. Sorry for that. So yes, okay, we want to see what's Linux, right? Sorry for the inconvenience, I just want to do this. Okay, Linux. It says Arch Linux. Let's see. Oh, there's not too much information here. What's the best way to explain? Wikipedia. Let's change it to English. So Linux is a family of open source Unix-like operating systems. Linux itself is not an operating system, but a family of operating systems. Most of the systems that are called Linux, they share the same kernel like the nucleus. They have the same nucleus, but the operating systems are different. So what Linux systems are out there? We have Debian, for example, which is the system that I use. Let me just search here. Sorry for that. Here, for example, this is the icon for Debian. Where is it? Yes, Debian no Linux 12, right? Okay, so Debian is an operating system, but it's a distro, like a Linux distribution. Now that I guess you understand what's a Linux, let's talk about my experience. I've been using Linux for 2 years now. 2 years, complete 2 years, and I use only Linux on my system. I don't have Windows anymore. I have to do a lot of stuff. I am a translator, interpreter. Most of the times have to type documents. I also, have to edit photographs, labeling, small things. I'm not a technician in that. I also have to use internet, as everyone do, and I use Linux for that. I don't do anything else. Now, what do I want to share with you? What has been my experience? Was it worth it changing to Linux or maybe not? Let's see. Now, the first thing we have to cover is ease of installation. We have lots of operating systems and each distro is different. For example, if you want to install Debian, Ubuntu, they are easy to install, or Linux Mint, they are easy to install. But if you try Arch Linux, you may not get to what you want. So, let's say if you're a beginner, just install Debian Mint. It will be easy to install. Just like Windows, you have to burn your CD or your hard drive inside and you just follow the instructions. Second point is available softwares. Now, most people that give up on Linux, I know it's because of the softwares. I mean, we have lots of softwares for anything. For the editing, we can have software for word processing, Excel, spreadsheet, but most of them are open source and they are not well maintained. I mean, they are functional, but there is no support for them. If you find a bug or the system somehow doesn't work well on your computer, you have to solve yourself. And sometimes you may get to internet. If you're not a geek or a programmer, you don't know how to read the documentations. That will be difficult. That's why most of people will prefer Microsoft or Adobe softwares. That's a weak point for Linux, I recognize. Ease of use, well, this is connected to available softwares. The available softwares somehow, even if they are intended for the same objective, they might not do it the same way. For example, I had a big struggles in LibreOffice Writer, which is equivalent to Microsoft Word, in creating sections, separating sections, and session breaks, page breaks, index, for example. In Word, you can start indexing or page numbering in page 5 and mark that as number 1. But in LibreOffice, I really had to struggle a lot, and I learned this year. I think it was this month, December, I downloaded a book that explained that. So they're not that easy to use. But let's say another point, reliability against crashes. So you see, if you use Windows, you certainly or most certainly have had a crash one day. The blue screen, famous blue screen in Linux. Well, Linux doesn't crash very often, and if it does, you can recover everything. I mean, everything on your hard drive without losing it. For example, but it's really rare. I've never had such a problem, but once I had to install another operating system on the same hard drive I had installed the previous one. So the Linux file system is different from the Windows. For example, let me open my files here. Oh, that's not it. This one. You see, if you were on a Windows, let's see here. If you're on a Windows, you would find a disk for the system, Windows, and maybe another disk for my storage. But what did I do here? This says 100 gigabytes available. This is the system, but I allocated another partition in the home directory. So if I open here, you will see I have 3 gigabytes free. How come if this is 1 gigabyte storage, how do I have 300 gigabytes free? So this is because the system, the Linux system, is a little bit different and flexible. Everything in Linux is a file. So let's say if your computer is not working, you just identify what's wrong, what's the file that's not performing well, and you can replace it. I once had to delete this home directory when I was partitioning the disk, and what I had to do was move these files to a dump file, a dump folder, and after I partitioned, I moved the files back and everything was working well. I mean, the configurations, the customization, everything. I didn't have to do anything else. So, what are my recommendations if you want to start using Linux? Well, one thing is certain. You have to be a heavy reader. You have to investigate a lot. In summary, you have to read documentations because Linux, as I said, is an open source software. No one is profiting out of it, so no one really spends too much time dealing with Linux or open source softwares. But you can find good good documentations online. Let's say you want to install Linux. Well, we have lots of YouTube tutorials, but before you follow those tutorials, probably you should go to Google and just type Debian. You find the Debian website. The Debian website has most of the information. They have guidelines for installing the software, for managing the software, and most common applications. Everything you can find here, and it's available in different languages. Don't see where do you change the language here. Right. Let's say English here. So you have to read why Debian. Let's say how to install Debian. I think it's here. Documentation. Okay. So in documentation, you have installation guide, the reference. This is for managing the Debian, even without this desktop environment, because one thing in Linux, the desktop is separated from the system itself. Here, last week I was using a different desktop, which was KDE. Now I'm using GNOME. If I decide, I can just change to another, like i3WM. That's simply easy. So this was my video. Sorry for the inconvenience. It's hot here. You know, see, I live in Mozambique, and I think, let's see what's the weather like. Well, 34 degrees sensation, 41 degrees, and if that was in Fahrenheit, 94. I'm burning. I don't have an AC, and that's it. Thank you.